pushing G2 in World Semi-Finals. And the problem is, boys, is that the game doesn't finish in 10 minutes. And you got to close out a game. And I think this is kind of a recurrent theme for Order. And it's one that I'm certainly been very aware of since that first throw versus Legacy. If you cast your mind back all the way to week one, is that Order do not look comfortable with the lead. Juves on his stream yesterday actually said your team looks better when they're playing from behind. So just so often being caught in side lanes, not looking for that 5v5 team fight, taking a 50-50 smite. When you're 13,000 gold up, the last thing you want to do is 50-50 smite on the most important objective in the game. But at the end of the day, we take those, Nick. That's what we do. We take those. That's a dub where I'm from.
We take them however we can get them. We've got a lot more League of Legends action coming up. But before we get to game number 2, it's time to get into the Nick bag. The opening titles give it away. The Nick Bag, of course, is the segment where during this quarantine period, we just drop children off at random houses to make sure that they can be looked after and keep you entertained throughout this ever worsening situation.
If you don't abandon your kids, how do you ever play Animal Crossing, Nick? That's a real question. If they're just always around, how do you Animal Crossing during the day?
I will say that this morning I introduced Banjo to his very first video game, and it was Animal Crossing, and he was so delighted. So delighted. I think I made a huge mistake. Our first question comes in from Beverly Ann, who says, who has the worst setup on cam at home? You guys are doing great. Keep safe out there. So I'm going to read this as who has the worst, the most hodgepodge put together setup. Because obviously this all came about relatively quickly. Rusty, what are you looking at there?
What part of the setup? Like I have a microphone with
I've got the worst mic
connected,
for sure.
like a static mic with an arm on it and everything. Like, it's pretty fancy, right? I think
that's
the thing
good.
that makes me look the least professional would be the headset. Like if I could not wear it, I think it would look generally better. But we're going full gamer spec. Yeah, I'm not sure. What other aspects are we talking about?
Yeah, well, I cast my. I'll let Sport go because he says his is the worst. But I do remember that Skimmy yesterday just had his microphone sitting on his table, like the actual microphone just laid on the table,
literally on my table. You know, it's actually really funny because Beverly Ann's actually one of my real life mates, right? And before this gig, we actually used to cast together. So it's actually kind of funny because now when he actually hops on Discord with us, his setup sucks. Like, if you want ASMR, obviously you tune into Rusty. It goes left ear, right ear, maybe even middle ear. Who knows? But if you want to hear a Western ASMR mukbang stream, the guy's like, I'm like, just mute your mic, bro, please. So it's actually funny that he has the audacity, I guess, to ask us.
I have over-indexed in the background, but my actual gear, I think, is the worst.
There we go.
I would appreciate it. But I think I got the worst mic out of everyone. I'm not going to name names on brands. It is not one of my sponsors, so I won't do that. But I think everyone else has got a studio quality mic.
Here we go. I'm going to pause everything, just check that is the audio working. Do all those things. Look over at different browsers. But we're back. We're back for another Gravitas cast. Welcome from wherever you're watching, whether you're watching on Twitch TV, you might be watching on LinkedIn, you might be watching on my Facebook. Welcome to another cast. I'm going to pause the guys on the Hangout for just this moment while we get to have a bit of a chat about the game and the game ahead and what happened yesterday. And the excitement around it. How good was it to beat... Wait for it. To beat the Wolves yesterday. Really good match. Really good team effort by the boys. I'm going to move over to the Gravitaso's chat so I can see what is happening there. And want to get in. And so today we have got two matches up next. if I transition up next, we play the Chiefs. The Chiefs being the second team. They were undefeated until Legacy took them. I think Legacy took them down. And now they've lost a couple. But they are the team to beat. Hello, Gibbo. Welcome. Thank you very much for coming along. I keep going to say welcome to the podcast. I'm not on a podcast. I'm on a Twitch stream doing some gaming stuff. So first of all, we have got the Chiefs at 5 o'clock, and then we take on PGG, Pentanet.gg at 7 p.m. Two big matches today. Chiefs, then Penta. Really looking forward to the matches. The guys are pumped. I'm hoping to have my coaches, Calvin and Omo, joining the cast. Keeping an eye on things on the Hangout. If you haven't read, I think I have shared it on my socials. It's a really good article on both my LinkedIn and Twitter, outlining what the guys at Riot Games, Oceanic region here, have done to create this cast. They're broadcasting from home, and all of the production staff are home as well. So great job, great work from them to at least make sure the game's still happening. If you're wondering what jersey I'm wearing today, I'm wearing the OG, the original Gravitas jersey. This is the quickly put together Gravitas jersey we had for Split 1 last year, and then we were bold. Split 2, we went with 7 jerseys, and stay tuned. Stay tuned for Split 2. We've got some surprises coming up for Gravitas fans and OPL fans. Wondering what we're cooking up with our friends at Sportility. We're looking forward to Split 2. So as I did yesterday, what I'm going to do is introduce the Gravitas lineup. If you're watching this Gravitas game for the very first time, I want to introduce the lineup. But what I'm going to do now, before I do that, I'm just going to jump on the old Twitter. I'm going to jump on Twitter just right now. I'm going to go over to the computer over here because I'm running a multiple computer setup. Tune in now. I'm on. This is where I do all my mistakes when I'm typing and trying to do some commentary at the same time. And it's always the double slash for the HTTP that gets me. And I'm going to tweet that. Right, I've tweeted it. If you're watching, send it out. A bit of retweet. Send people back here. So let's get stuck in to what we want to do. Why is that one there? Let's close that one. Let's change that one to another one. I'm just playing around with the settings as we're jumping around. No, I don't want it that one. I want the other one. It's the other one, the one that it's not giving me. Anyway, we will try different things a little bit later. I don't know what that's happening there, but hopefully when we get the full screens up and running, it is. Let's just make sure that is in front of that. Let's just leave that there. It is the opposite. It's doing the opposite. Anyway, just playing around with my OBS setup. Just playing around with my OBS setup. It's not quite, it doesn't appear to be working, but hopefully it is. But thank you to those of you who have tuned in. And let's get started. I want to just make sure that it is working across all the channels. Hello to everyone on Facebook, and those of you who are on Twitch. It seems to be still, it's not giving me any numbers. LinkedIn, you're not very good at giving back the numbers. But what I want to do is get into some intros. I'm going to be joined by hopefully some of the players and some other people, do a bit more explaining of League of Legends. But before we get into that, what I am going to do is swap to this. I'm going to introduce the team. So we have a squad at Gravitas. Normally what happens, and what has happened in the past in the OPL, is you get a squad of 5 and you run with those 5 players. League of Legends takes 5 players. Our captain is Jordan Fernandez. Jordan is. Oh, hang on. I need to go back. I need to go back. Don't forget, everybody. Go buy McDonald's. Have to make sure to protect the OPL sponsors. So I will get back to the intro once we've made sure that the partners of the OPL have been looked after. So good on you, McDonald's. Thank you very much. Do you realize you can get it delivered? Just use the drive-through. Don't go and eat in, everybody. So we'll get into, so we've got a squad of 10. 10 players across the multiple positions. There's 5 positions that are played in a game of League of Legends. They are top, jungle, mid, ADC, and support. We're into Champ Select, so let's listen in a little bit to what's happening in Champ Select.
Gravitas still have a chance at making it into that top 5 for playoffs, so if they can get another upset today like they did over Direwolves, it definitely does spoil the easy run that some of these teams already in 4th and 5th will be looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. Gravitas currently in 7th place, but one.
So what's happening here is the pick ban phase. So the champions you are seeing at the bottom in League of Legends, 140 champions that you can select from. The first phase is banning. So that is stopping teams using those champions. And so you have 3 bans, and that is to take away potentially champions that they think your players are good at playing. And so you can see there the one in the middle on the Chiefs side, the one that I recognize is Yuumi. So the Chiefs have said, we don't want Trashley, who's playing the support. We don't want Trashley playing the Yuumi. So they've banned him away. And so we first have these 3 picks, 3 bans, and then we end up having 3
top 10
picks.
Sign of respect here from Gravitas as well, banning that Wukong away from Tian and presumably Claire. Both players love their carries, so they're going to get rid of that one. And Parbu to be banning that away is a sure sign that he knows that they're playing those champions, because I'm sure he would jump straight on the Wukong if he could, with no hesitation. You mentioned.
So there you go. So you can see some of the strategies of backwards and forwards of who we're picking and who the Chiefs are picking. What I want to do is I will check in with Calvin and Omo, the coaches of Gravitas, on some of the insights on what the champions are and how they are counter picks. So we will see. We've now got 2 picks, and then it goes back to the Chiefs. They get 2 picks, and then we get 1 more pick, and then we do the final bans. And again, it's all about reducing the amount of champions that players can play. So this part of a League of Legends game makes every single game a different game. Makes every single game a completely different game because the composition is completely different. Oh, hang on. I meant to hang up. And I'm not. Hang on. I'm hanging up on you, Greg. People calling me during. Bless him. I will talk you. I will call you back, Greg. I will call you back. Not now. I will call you back. This is me. Hopefully. There we go. Where was I? Pick ban. Champ select. Why Not seems to like the Omo draft. We'll find out from Why Not later. He is in the Gravitas chat in Twitch. So at the moment, going through the pick ban, going through picking our sides effectively, picking the champions that the guys will play. And so what I want to do is I'm going to try to explain because we will have people who are watching in a League of Legends game for the very first time, which I did probably about 18 months ago, to be honest. Try to explain League of Legends in the terms of, say, maybe you're an AFL fan. I'm concerned. I'm concerned about Greg too. I understand that. I will call Greg back, and I'm hopefully Greg. We'll get Greg on stream later. I actually did send him a message of Twitch. If we see Greg, if you're on stream, come back. We'll put you in the Discord. Join the Discord. There's a link up the top. Gravitas.gg/Discord. I will be talking to people in our Discord. Yes. Okay, everybody. Enough. This is not all about Greg. It's not all about Greg. We're trying to get into pick ban here. Greg has not been selected. Okay? Greg has not been selected. But I think actually Greg would actually play. If we're going to talk about Greg would actually play really well as a support. Speak about the picks. This is the thing. I'm still figuring out them, and I'm also going with a tiny screen because I'm looking at it in OBS. I haven't figured out the best system. That's not the right. Now I'm swapping between screens. That's not the right one. Let's go back to OBS. Actually, what champs do you like? What champs do I like? I don't know half the champs. Why not? What actually someone can do is when we get all the champs done, can someone please take a screenshot of the champs and we'll talk to Calvin and Omo about the champs. I didn't get to do the screenshot, so when we get the last one, let's at least get the screenshot. And just chuck it in the Discord, and I think I'll be able to grab it out of the Discord, put it on the screen. When we go to that 5-minute break, we can talk about it. So, let's look at, what have we got? I'm trying to look at the screen. Get it up a bit closer. Oh, and now they're moving around, right? So I know that the ones that I can see a bit. I can see an Orn. I can see a Braum. And this is where I should have been listening to the. I should have had the Riot. I should have the Twitch stuff right in my ear. I should just have had it on monitor only. This is the stuff that I'm learning as I'm going. How can I just monitor only? That's what I want. No, but I don't want to monitor only because I want to listen to it later. And if I do that, then I'll miss it completely. Let's just check in.
Matchup here.
Now I've
It's not a full skill matchup,
played around with the
really.
settings. Why did you tell me
it's
to
a
do
Braum
that?
who's going to be pretty defensive.
Let's
He's
just
even
do
gone for the
it now.
exhaust in his build, so it's clear to me that they're not playing too hard
And
to
they're
go for kills unless their jungler is nearby or their mid laner
Put it
pressures and comes
low.
down
Which one
there
am I putting down
to
low?
help out. I think for
Twitch
Gravitas, though, having Varus and Thresh at level 6, their kill threat grows
I also don't want to
very
talk over them
high,
all the time.
and Praylers need only look to the area to find opportunities for those kills. So that's the place for me. Definitely
now
on
that we've
Gravitas'
got
side that I'd be looking.
cast volume.
Can they make plays down in
Think I've
bot
got
lane?
it.
And
I'll turn it
I guess
down
that
a
is
little
where
bit.
I wouldn't say skill matchup, but skill check 100% comes into play there.
So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to
And do
mute
we
them for a second.
feel, I suppose,
'Cause I
confident
need
with
to
how
go back
beefy Gravitas is to
and
sustain
introduce
in
the
these
team.
team fights, the ability to...
Because I want to do that right now. So I want to talk about Jordan Fernandez, our captain, 20-year-old, Prayless Ose. He's currently in the game. It doesn't mean you can't tweet him. Send him a tweet at Prayless Ose. Katy Perry loves him. Have you seen that? Katy Perry thinks he has gravitas. Twitter.com/PraylessOce. OCE. Send him a tweet. He is playing in the jungle position. Remember, I'm going to explain all the positions in terms of AFL and basketball during today's cast. Then, after going back to the right screen, in the intros, after Prayless, not after players in the position, but making his comeback to this weekend is Pabu playing the top lane. Pabu's coming back. He played with us last year, and he is an all-star. Pabu 22 on Twitter.com. If you do not know about Pabu, you need to Google Pabu versus Faker. Pabu took down the world's number one League of Legends player at All-Stars 2 years ago. Why not? Don't be like that. Of course, it's a year-old graphic. We had those jerseys last year. He's a very good-looking man. Why wouldn't we use it? My Photoshop skills are not good enough to take Pabu's head and put it on Jordan Fernandez's shoulders. Next up in our lineup is Suman. I constantly mispronounce his name, but I'm not going to do it. Suman plays in the mid lane. He's 22. He has been around the esports scene. He's played for a few different teams in the OCS. The OCS is the league below the OPL. So for the people who are watching who might know the NBA, the OCS is the G League. Or if you know your AFL, the OCS is the VFL. Suman has performed quite well in this split, coming in week 3. Thank you very much, Ninja, giving us a Gravitas glory in the chat. For you,
Gravitas. Glory.
There you go. A bit of Gravitas glory as we go through the lineup. Next is the youngest in the lineup, Nathan Puma. Puma turned 18 just a couple of weeks ago. He's been playing well in the ADC position, down in bot. That is in the bottom lane. I've even got a map in today's cast. We're going to talk about Summoner's Rift, where these guys play. Puma has been doing quite well under the tutelage of our 3 ADC lineup. The guys all working and helping each other. Yes, we're going to hear about the draft. I'm waiting for the guys to come out of the draft, and then we'll talk about the draft. The chat is being very demanding today. I'm trying to get through our lineup, and I'm trying to make sure. Let me just check. Tell me when the game starts. Let me just check. Oh no, we're still 2 minutes 57 away. Good. Looking at the clock. Why is that one? Anyway, don't be distracted, Sean. Get back to the task at hand. The task at hand is talking about the lineup. Talking about Puma. Plays the ADC position, the assassin. Plays down bot lane. And who does he play down bot lane with? That's probably what you're asking right now. Who plays with Puma in the bot lane? Because 2 people play in the bot lane. That would be Trashly. Ashley White. 20 years old. Trashly Ose. On twitter.com. Look it up, Tim Wendell. That's what Trashly looks like. Definitely a man. That is our starting 5 for today. That is our starting 5. But we've got a squad. We've got a Gravitas squad. We have got Beats, mid laner and top laner. 21 years old. Beats Ose has been performing well at the start of the split. We have got K-pop, which is part of our double support strategy. 24-year-old K-pop League. You can send him a tweet. Who we got next? We hit the thing. The next one is the toughest person to commentate and cast about in the OPL. Nobody. Every single time we get a nobody joke. Every time we list the whole squad. Nobody's a top laner. 19 years old. Lachlan O'Keefe. Keen O'Keefe. Nobody Ose. Send him a tweet. Tell him that you're watching. There we go. See, exactly. That's exactly what I want from the the Twitch chat. You say nobody, and everyone goes, who? Who? It's like a pantomime, everybody. Thank you for joining in. I'm here all day. Our third ADC on the roster is Bambi. Liam Jowett, he is 25. Bambi on ice. Ose. I must admit, when I first thought, I thought, why is he on ice? And then I remembered, Bambi the movie, not Bambi on drugs. Remember that, people. Bambi on ice. Right. Next one. And he'll be joining us later in the cast. And our final ADC, Belong 1, Jimmy Woo, 19. Belong 1C. Played a couple of games, and as we switch around the ADC role. I've got 2 minutes. Or I haven't got 2 minutes. The countdown's coming on. The pressure is on. How do you wrangle 10 guys? You have some great coaches. We've got Calvin Lee Ose. Calvin will be joining the cast to explain the draft, because I obviously don't know what happened in the draft. And then we'll also have Omo. Leonard. Omo2_2. He will also be joining us. Omo has been our stage coach, appearing with the guys at Riot Studios. But with the current situation we're all in, he is flown back to Singapore. So our 2 coaches socially distancing from other countries. Last but not least, because I think the game is going to start, this is me. My business is Sports Geek. My Twitter handle is @SeanCallanan. You can tweet me. This is your lineup for today. We've got Puma. We've got Pabu playing top. Pralis in the jungle. Suman playing mid. Puma and Trashly down in bot. Almost did. Live Gravitas glory. Almost. Let's get to the game. Oh my god, I missed the start of the game. Why didn't anyone tell me in the chat? The game has started. Let's turn off Gravitas glory. Let's actually get some Twitch TV happening.
Katsuri, Claire, and Croc, with TN
It's still
and Korea
0-0.
CK being the
It's okay.
auxiliaries to tanks the engage for the team.
Let's go to full
Whereas
screen.
on the other side of the map, it's a little bit more
Let's go to
variable
full
than that.
screen.
You know, Pabu
That's not the
could
right
be a powerhouse if he
Let's-
gets
let's
ahead.
go to full
Pralis the
screen.
exact same, but he doesn't have
There
a
we go.
Yumi.
Let's fix the other
Human
screen.
playing that
Doesn't
Silas.
hit
Honestly,
anyway.
Human's just been playing out of his mind anyway, so we'll see how
Yeah.
he goes against Claire. Then Puma and Trashly, who I think are the best in the bottom lane from the Gravitas options right now, playing the utility themselves.
And that's
There
really
we
the lane
go.
that I wanted to highlight. We talked about it briefly in the draft and how sort of Korea CK
It's
has
even
opted
got
for the
quicker
exhaust to
than
be a little bit
yesterday
more
in the
defensive.
turn
But, you know,
in
if you
casters
compare
a little
these two
bit.
teams, they're very different from a
All right.
objective standpoint. You know, the Chiefs 70% of the time are getting the Dragons and the Herald in the game.
So
So,
let's
they
go
are
back.
dominating
Can't
from an
hear me.
objective standpoint. You
Can't
know, you
hear me.
compare that to Gravitas, you know, 38% of the time they're getting Drakes.
Can you
so
hear me now?
given that they're in a situation where they have
No,
the
no,
entrance
all
to
cut.
Drake a little bit
Oh,
easier, if
don't
they
be
can
like
try and get
that.
themselves ahead and really force Chiefs to be defensive,
What's
essentially
that?
they can build a lead up and try and find in multiple avenues
working
to
on the audio.
give themselves a lead that may be the tipping point here.
Yeah, I mean, snowballing is something that's
Testing
very
the
possible
audio.
with their
Can you hear this
composition.
one?
There is still obviously the risk of being outscaled, something that the Chiefs have done even from
All right, so
significant.
turn off the stream. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? I think you can hear me. Full screen is fine, just no stream audio. Okay. Right. But you can, yes. Yes, you can hear us. Cool. Don't say, oh, I'm doing all this audio stuff. And first blood goes down. Damn it. Jungler for jungler. All right. Don't, oh, hang on. Come on. Hey, come on. It's human. Get in there. Get in there. Get in there. Oh. All right. Still working on seeing what's going on. No, that one on. That one on. That one. Okay. Let's figure this out. Let's figure this out. I'm going to go to the casters while I try to figure out what I've stuffed up with my screen.
Find that
Not
gold
bad.
goes onto the Silas that, well, we've seen what happens when Seaman has these resources given to him. He's shown a level-headed bit of consistency right now. With that red buff, Croc's going to show his face, wants to claim that back to continue his jungle pathing, but Prentice is waiting in the rings. He's not going to reveal himself just yet. Surprise, surprise, here I am! They're forced to burn that flash away. Olaf down low, gets nearsighted by that smoke screen. They find one, they collapse to find a second. The chains don't land, but at least they get something on the boards.
Yeah, Prayless is pretty weak at the moment. There was a cute little bait attempt there by Gravitas. You know, Human sitting there, and Prayless just behind the wall in fog.
And we're back.
But the second they see him, they're going to take him down. You know, an extra long sword with the pockets of Croc. He was the recipient of the kills. He had a red buff that he just took from his own camps, and so...
All right, what I'm going to do is try to bring in some people that might know what they're doing, as opposed to what I'm doing right now. So let's see if I can go into the Discord. I think I've got too many browsers going. That's what's happening. All right.
Hello.
Why not? Save me.
How are we doing?
I think if everything's working right, you're on the cast. Welcome.
Glad to be here.
So obviously I stuffed things up. My full screen, I lost audio, but anyway,
No,
let's
I
talk.
don't think you lost audio. It was just we were mentioning the casters were far too loud compared to you, so we couldn't
Okay.
hear you over the casters. I think it's all
Okay.
good otherwise.
Okay, so can you help me right here and give me a recap of where we're at, where the game is at right now?
So it's interesting. Yeah.
So we're
level
4
one-
minutes in. 4 minutes in.
Yeah.
It's two. Chiefs have got 2 kills. Gravitas has got 1 kill. Explain to me where the game is right now.
I mean, you can see that, but you can also see at the top of your screen, you can see the different gold values of each team.
Yep.
And you can see that despite Chiefs being up 1 kill on Gravitas, the gold lead is still Gravitas's favor by 400 gold. And you can look at the scoreboard at the bottom and see those little numbers that go up. Those are how many minions each player has killed, and those give gold. So despite being down a kill, they're actually up in gold because they've killed more minions.
And that's good, yeah?
Yeah, for sure. So that means that despite being down a kill, they're still very much in the game, and it's also early days, and we'll see how the game progresses.
Well, thank you very much. So, I wanted to go through, and I felt a bit rushed. I think I liked it yesterday when we had extra pauses and the games went on forever. But I've got to deal with what I've got. And at the moment, game is 2-1, and we are. Yeah, so at the moment, the action is currently up in top, where we've got Pabu. What is explain the matchup here? What are the two champions that they're playing in top?
So there's Ornn versus Irelia in the top lane. So Ornn is kind of a tank, which refers to a champion that doesn't have sorry, a champion that doesn't have an insane amount of damage, but is very durable. So it can take a lot of damage for this team.
Pretty much like
Whereas
any tank. It can stand in front
exactly
of thing
that's
and
the
that kind of
idea.
stuff. Yep.
That's the idea. And then there's Pabu on Irelia, which is a high mobile, very fast moving, high damage character who's pretty hard to use. But luckily, we're watching the top form of gameplay, and we have the professionals on their champions, and you can see that reflected in the matchup. You can see that Pabu has a big lead in minions over his counterpart Thien, and that's due to kind of Ornn has to be very careful because if he missteps, then Pabu can capitalize and maybe even push a even bigger advantage than he has now.
And so there's 5 positions. I quickly tried to explain them before. We've got some action currently in the bot lane. We've got Trashly and Puma in the bot lane against the bot of Chiefs. Why do these guys hang around the bottom
So I
lane
mean,
of the map?
here in the early game, the dragon is the major neutral objective. So neutral meaning it's not really belonging to either team; it's more just up for contention. So that rolls down the bottom side of the map. So Praelus went down to the bottom side, whereas Graves, the opponent jungler Croc, is in the top side, allowing them to get an easy dragon. They did fail the gank, however,
Yep.
um, which isn't very optimal. But at the same time, they managed to get that space in order for them to take that neutral objective.
So that's the first thing. The bottom lane. That's where the dragons will spawn. That's one of the objectives. And the different dragons give different champions different abilities. Yeah.
Exactly. So the dragons spawn in a different type of pattern. They're all the 4 elements. So Dragon A, the first spawning dragon, is different to Dragon B, but then the third dragon that spawns will be the same one. So Dragon A this game looks to be it was Ocean Dragon they took.
Yep.
You can see in the top corner, you can see like a brown icon. That means the Mountain Dragon. So then the third dragon to spawn has to be one of the other ones. It has to be either Air Dragon or Infernal.
Okay. And so what we just saw there, we took who grabbed the Rift Herald while you were chatting?
That was Croc, but we can see that Thien is trying to engage onto Trashly, but he manages to create space. So this is an interesting shift. What they did is that the bottom lane, all positions are really named after where they go. So
Yep.
bottom lane, it goes in the
Starts
bottom,
down the bottom, yep.
obviously. However, you can see that now they've actually moved and they're at the top of the map, and Pabu, whose top lane, is actually at the bottom. And what they've done is after taking Dragon, they decided to swap the sides so they could focus on the newer objective, being the Herald. Unfortunately, well played to Chiefs, traded out the camps there, traded out the neutral objectives. So where Gravitas managed to secure the Dragon, Croc secured the Rift
Rift
Herald.
Herald, and they'll use it to have a crack at one of our towers. And the more
Exactly,
and
it's
when
kind
they
of like
take,
a siege unit. It's a
and when
big siege unit.
and when they take down a tower, they get the gold, and the gold allows you to go buy more items and level up your. Oh, Puma's just
And
got a cheeky
it
little
was
kill. What happened
off
there?
screen there, but I'm sure that Trashly, playing Thresh, managed to land a hook, which is a way to kind of keep the opponent
We love
in
Trashly
a
on a
certain
hook. He's been
position.
playing well with the hooks lately, throwing
I've
the
been
hooks
seeing
out.
I've seen him on Rakan quite a bit. I like his Rakan. But here we go. You can see Graves summoning that siege unit in the bottom lane. It'll charge down the tower, doing a lot of damage. And you can see the health plates are segmented. Each one of those give gold. And
Oh,
Pabu's
hang on, he's
going
gonna
in though.
get in there, Pabu. Oh,
I don't
no,
think there'll be any
no.
kills going down, but that, however, is important because you can see next to the little champion icons, you have those two squares.
Yep.
Those are summoner spells. So the main one everyone really takes is called Flash. That's like a short range instant teleport. However, the cooldown on it, you can only use it once every 5 minutes. So right then, I think opponent being three of the chief champions, use the flash, and you can see that beautiful hook earlier
Yep.
that actually landed to secure that kill. That was actually very impressive because all the minions block it. And you can see
Okay.
Praelus and Pabu going in here, and they both die, and that's because of earlier. Earlier they used their flashes, they didn't have any now, so Praelus can use his flash to just get in there for an easy double kill.
Okay, why not? Thank you very much. We are now going to be drawn. We're going to go to TriCast because I'm just going to take in more things and try to juggle more things because I think the guys are juggling them quite well. Bambi, welcome to GOV Cast.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
No worries. Um, how do you think the game is going right now on what is happening?
It's going pretty well. I think Gravitas have done a good job of using the early lead that they gained from Prellis doing what we call an invade in the topside jungle earlier at the start of the game when we were talking about how Subin got his kill, and that's translated to them getting some tempo, which means that they're playing the game in their favor. They're getting to be creative and not having to react to plays.
Yep.
So it's going well so far for the boys.
So why not was talking about the swap of the positions. With
So, I mean,
Pabu swapping from top to bot, is that something that they'll continue to do, or is Pabu?
I mean, if you look at what they're doing now, it's kind of it's reflective of that. So it's all about the neutral objectives. So Dragon's coming up in 30 seconds. So now the bottom lane is in the mid, and they're trying to make sure that they can be in a position they have time to move and try and take the dragon. We might even see a fight going on as both junglers are bottom side and are kind of around the dragon. So you can see Pralus is moving forward to kind of push out Claire and see what he can do. Then in 10 seconds, the next objective spawns, and we'll see how the teams react.
All right. Bambi, explain to me the role that Puma's playing. You play ADC in the same role. Explain that role to people who don't know what an ADC does.
So an ADC's role is to explicitly deal damage. There are exceptions to that, but for the most part, your champion.
Hang on. Oh, come on. We're gonna call it when it's happening. Hang on.
I mean, here we go. We can see Pralus on the dragon, securing it with his smite. So junglers each have a spell called smite, and that's used to kind of defines the jungle. So a champion that takes smite as a spell, usually and with very very few exceptions, is the jungler. That's used to make sure you can get the last hit on those objectives. But anyway, back to
Bambi
to
because I've
explain
been
an
able to figure out.
ADC.
I've figured out. I put up Bambi's pretty face up on the cast as well. There he is. Explain ADC role, the assassin, the deal damage deal, and explain and how he's working with Trashly because you've played a lot with Trashly.
I have, yeah.
But any time we're coming in, and I'm going to just interrupt you because if we get a kill, I'm in.
Human's going into the kill. Ooh, very close.
I think you're a little bit behind on the broadcast. I don't know.
Yeah.
Wait, what's the game timer for you?
13:50 something, 57.
Oh, okay, no, we're about equal. We're good.
Yeah. Sorry, Bambi, we keep interrupting when the guys are playing well, but that's all good. But yeah, how do you team up? How do you team up with the support?
So the ADC's role is generally to deal as much damage as they can, but the ADC role functions by getting a lot of gold, and so as a result of that, they are assigned a support. They're the only role in the game that constantly plays with another player whose job is basically to get them through the early stages of the game so they can what we call scale into the latter part with a lot of items and a lot of damage, just sit there and funnel out as much damage as possible.
So when you say scale, as we're going to dive into a fight soon, but as you say scale, it's like you get better as the game gets on, and you want to make sure your assassin or your key players get the appropriate gold and get all the items that they need because they'll be really big later in the game.
Yes. So the ADCs deal more damage the later the game goes on.
So as opposed to flattening the curve, you want to make sure that curve is really going up.
Oh, you're throwing in coronavirus references.
I mean, think about it. Look at Gravitas. Gravitas are playing coronavirus.
Oh wow, we're really going there. Like, I mean, you're ahead of us. You're already in lockdown. You're in New Zealand. Why not? So we're taking our leadership from our New Zealand friends who are already in lockdown. Don't forget, everybody, stay safe. Clean your hands. Social distance. So let's recap the game. Bambi, where do you see the game right now? We're 4 kills to 2. No towers have gone down. No, checks it. Yep.
However, I think a tower's about to go down bottom lane as the Rift Herald is moving up to a very precarious tower.
Oh, it is.
Still looking pretty good for the boys. We have that top matchup we were talking about, that Wynut was talking about earlier in regards to the Ornn tank versus the Aurelia damage, which Aurelia is still winning. That just sort of creates pressure for Gravitas, and as we saw about a minute or two ago, we collected another dragon. So we have 2 dragons at the moment. Once that gets to 4 dragons, that is what we call the Dragon Soul, which is just basically a big damage spike.
Yep.
And things are
Ooh,
looking pretty on
yeah.
track at the moment for the boys. We're still up about 1,500 gold or 1,200 gold as well.
Yes.
It's looking good.
Something like pretty cool to point out is now that we can see that dragon that will kind of define the game is the Infernal Dragon, which is all about damage.
Yep.
So with these next few dragons, I'm expecting to see Chiefs heavily contest and fight for this next dragon, because being having the enemy being on soul point is pretty scary and forces you to do some pretty it's too much pressure to handle.
But pretty
Something
much
else to mention as well.
pretty
Yeah.
much the Chiefs. I mean, they're known for being a real big fighting comp. Like that's why they play well. Yeah. Like they want to.
mean,
They
You
want.
can
They
see
take
it's
the
reflected
fight.
in the champions they draft as well.
Yeah.
You know, with LeBlanc, LeBlanc's a very strong early mid skirmisher, along with Croc on Graves as well, having that early damage. But an important thing to mention is, you know, despite the gold lead and stuff like that, is that Thien is playing Ornn. Anyway, we will
Well,
see Pabu getting jumped on by Croc and Thien, and I
2v1.
think he should go down. We'll see what happens.
He's fighting. He's trying to fight. He's trying to get away.
He's smacking minions. Yeah.
There we go. Well, Pabu's down, and he will respawn and come back.
But using the pressure of knowing that Graves and Ornn were top lane, they push in the middle wave as Croc goes back to base and starts moving towards the bottom side of the map, clearly posturing to go for Dragon.
Yeah, so
And when-
Gravitas now looking to set up their
Yeah.
3rd dragon, which you can see in the top corner spawning in 15 seconds. It Trashy takes a hook in. Might be a bit preemptive. He has to use
I
his
think
flash to get
taking that
away.
in was it was a pretty grief as Korea CK follows up. They secure the
Oh,
Braum stun.
The
Hang
Callanan
on.
engage coming out here now.
But what
from
can
Sumin.
what can Suman do? Puma's in the back line, but he's running out of mana. Mana's
What's
resource
mana?
you expend. You expend the resource to use your spells.
Yep.
So if you're kind of nearly out of it, then it's going to be very, very hard for you to deal as much damage as you could. As we
And
see the 3rd dragon going down to Chiefs.
That's a pretty big jump for Chiefs there, managing to catch out Trashley, who took in a hook that he shouldn't have, in combination with killing Pabu in the top lane, means that they actually managed to secure that 3rd dragon, which is going to stall out the game for them a little bit. If they can make the game go longer, then they are.
But
I
that's
think we see a solo kill though out of Pabu maybe.
But that's the
Okay,
whole.
never mind
That's the whole. That's the whole point, isn't it, Bambi? Like the swings and the game twists and turns around those objectives.
Here's interesting though, because here Pabu's teleporting in. You have Prayless walking in as well. Both the
bit
Chiefs
of a
players have
fiesta at the
flash.
moment.
It is a bit.
The boys are sort of tunneling towards
Brock
these
has
kills.
to expend flash there. See the thing about Pabu's
Go
teleport,
back.
yeah.
Like so, for people who are watching and don't know what's happening, when we say it's a bit of a fiesta, that is pretty much just fights happening all over the map, and it's a bit.
It's just a lack of structure. It just seems like a bit of a exactly like a fiesta. It's just a clown carnival.
Okay, I'm working out all of those things. I sort of know
So
half of them.
Zen, just to answer Zensuri's thing in Twitch chat, that movement speed was from Phase Rush proc, which is Graves' keystone, which is 3 hits and a lot of movement speed, in combination with Nimbus Cloak, which after using a summoner spell you gain move speed. So he smited and then procced Phase Rush, so he gets the double, very very large boost of movement speed before he had to flash anyway.
So again, I'm trying to. Oh, hang on. Suman's in a bit. Oh no, he's okay. But there are 3 people like lurking around, and he's sort of trying to hang around.
Ulting and looking on it, but they can't really
good.
force
He
that.
dodged that quite well. Look, we didn't see Ornn at all, I don't think, last year. That's because the game changes around every patch. We see down the bottom left,
so bi-weekly,
10.6, and so when they change the patch, they change the champions. There's going to be a big old fight here. The Ornn ultimate goes off. No, we're all good.
That was also actually Suman's. Okay, so this is getting into more champion detail, but Silas, who's being played by Suman,
yep, in the mid lane,
his ultimate ability is actually to steal one of the opponent's ultimate abilities.
Oh, so it
he
was
can be
Suman
very
throwing the
diverse.
Ornn.
So Suman there had taken Theon's Ornn ultimate, and then he used it there. So that, in fact, was actually Suman's Ornn Horn.
Oh,
as
awesome!
It's called.
I'm learning something every day. So Bambi, how do you, when a new patch comes out, what do you do? Do you read the notes? Do you start playing? How do you adjust your gameplay when a new patch comes out?
Well, for the most part, the patches are minimal changes for the most part. Every now and then, Riot chucks out a couple of big things, but usually they're gradual nerfs or buffs to champions they're
All
already
right, stop
mostly
there.
familiar with.
What's a nerf and what's a buff?
The buff is when they make something stronger, and nerf
Yep.
is when they make it weaker.
So-
And
And
it's
they
the, I
usually
think
just, like
the whole I think the origins of those is the whole idea of buff is like obviously being strong and big
There's a
and
question.
buff.
There's a question in
that-
the chat that I know I can answer. Gibbo Football's asking, who's the guy running around with the mattress? That's Braum, isn't it? Braum is the one that's running around. Now, my question is it a mattress? Because sometimes
It's a big shield actually.
Big
In
shield.
the if I remember correctly, in the lore, which is kind of
Yeah.
the history and the story of the game, I'm pretty sure that Braum shield was a big vault door.
Okay,
which
I think
he-
it's like
he
a big
saved a-
fridge door. You goes and brings it out, puts it in front, and no spells or anything can hurt anyone behind
Yeah,
it.
so he's a support who's very much into protecting people, so he carries a big shield.
So we're back on buff and nerf, right? So if Riot buffs a champion, they make it stronger, right? And it's
And if Riot
white
nerfs a champion,
people. If they nerf
idea
it, they
is
make it
is that
worse, right?
They
And-
become like a Nerf gun, is the idea. Is like
Yeah.
compared to a real gun, they're carrying a Nerf gun now.
Oh, okay,
The
okay.
idea
And
is that
so
it becomes weaker.
okay, and hang on, don't. And now I'm back. Click my name. Okay. Trying to turn up the quality of the Twitch screen. All right, I am checking my DMs. I only know half of those things, but I will try my best to fix those.
whatever the quality you're looking at, try
Oh,
and
there we
make
go.
it
How's that? Try now.
1080 if you can. Still looks the same.
Oh no. So what are you saying from a quality point of view?
It's still watchable, I think.
It's
It
watchable.
still
It's
should be
just,
fine.
it's just a bit. Looks like it's in 480p.
Anyway, Trashly's getting caught out here, and the thing is that at this point of the game, those deaths are very impactful, especially
with
around
the
these
dragon
timers.
coming up,
This
15
dragon's
seconds.
coming up, so 100% almost, Chiefs can secure that. But you can see Gravitas making a beeline for the top side of the map, where a major neutral objective called Baron spawns.
Try
It's
your
going
audio.
up in 20
Try your audio
minutes.
now, Bambi. I just tweaked it.
Okay, it should be. If it's just gone up a bit, it should be fine. Just people messaging me saying I was a bit quiet.
Just speak up,
Yeah.
man.
I think it's
'Cause
fine.
you-
I'm speaking like right into the mic.
no. But you've just got Why Not with his strong Kiwi accent coming over the top.
Yes, it's hard.
Like
to
that's
get
who you
off.
that's who you got to
Wow.
compete
Beautiful
with,
voice.
right?
Logitech G Pro headset.
Oh,
Blue
now he's
mic-
throwing
blue
out. Whoa,
microphone
whoa, no.
technology.
He's up with the sponsorship announcements. All right, let's do a bit of a recap of the game. So 5-4. You're relatively even. It's a
See,
bit of a line ball game at the minute, isn't it?
Another thing to mention is that, like, there's a lot more story to be told in looking at the characters being played than just in like the numbers, because each composition kind of has a different condition to win the game. You know, a win condition, a win con, and it's important to mention that some characters just can't compete with other characters at later stages of the game. The
Because
same way
again,
that
like Bambi was saying before, the
The idea of
scaling up, and that's why you hear when you're talking about the cast. Oh,
so for instance, like ADCs, like you mentioned, the bot laners, they are generally extremely well scaling. So in the later game, they can do an incredible amount of damage.
so Bambi.
Whereas
So I'm going to cut you off here. So
No
Bambi.
problem.
So Bambi, with our
Yep.
current comp, who are we going to build around? Who's going to be our champion? Who's the player that we're going to look to later in the game?
There's not really one champion. The composition that Gravitas has built is a bit of a as Puma's getting engaged on mid.
We'll get out of there,
He
Puma.
might
Oh,
just get away. He has
no,
to use both his summoners. Okay,
nah,
very
no.
close. Okay,
Ooh,
so
gee, he does.
back to what you were saying. There's not really one oh he actually goes down the croc. Unfortunate. That might be Baron for Chiefs now. But yeah, so the Gravitas' comp doesn't really build around one person, but it's more so playing around something we call split push.
Yep.
What that means is that usually in these games there are 5 people, and when you want to get something done, you have to group up as a whole team and play as a team.
So it's like
in-
you've got to bunch up, and it's always go as a 5.
Yeah, like if there's 2 people fighting
So-
you and you're one person, you're generally weaker, right? So
what's very important to
a
look at
lot
right now is that
uh,
since Puma went down,
Because it's
The Chiefs
4 on
players
5, and they're
runs
sort
the
of trying to get.
objective, and Pabu's going in on the top side of it.
they're still
However,
trying to fight
he's
even though it's
Ah,
4 on
1 on
5. It
3.
doesn't look like it's gonna
That's not
pan out
good.
very
That's
well.
not good.
So
Ah,
Gravitas is put in a very hard position there because they're 1 member down, and the other team goes for an objective which could be game winning. If they get that Baron, the game's almost sealed for Chiefs, or at least it's much better for them. So Gravitas decided to make a bit of a desperate play there.
So
So
the
And-
last
guys,
couple
and
of
guys,
go
you
for
guys
that.
would be on
events
comms
we've
on a
seen-
game like this.
Yeah.
So what are the types of conversations you're having while this is happening? Going, you know that they're going for the Baron. You've got Croc that is starting to really, put some pressure on the game. What do you try to do from a team comms point of view to sort of, hey,
I
we've
mean,
got
you'd
to
be calling
reset?
out what's happening. You'd be calling out what resources the opponent has in regards to abilities and summoner spells and different things like that. And then the idea would be to, I guess, call how you're going to fight the fight. Whether that be as simple as like the word slow, fast.
Yep.
Are you going to slowly try and draw out the play? Are you going to try and end it really quickly? Are you going to try it like which targets? Maybe say Misfortune, which is that woman with 2 water guns and a sun hat.
Yep.
Calling
So
targets and stuff like that. So
the
it's all really tight, and it's really important to make sure that everyone's on the same page. Whereas, like what happened there is it seemed like Praelis was on a different page than Parbu, as Parbu goes in on the top side, and Praelis runs away, kind of more on the bottom side of that fight.
why not?
So yeah,
You got to take a breath occasionally.
I guess so. That could definitely help breathe.
just to give us a bit of space. So the 10-4 at the moment, the Chiefs are starting to pull away a little bit, right? That Baron was important. They're taking down a tower, and now it's a matter of our guys now defending the base. Yeah, Bambi, that's pretty much what we're going to do, and just sort of hold the fort for a minute.
It's looking a little bit dire, as I was mentioning before. The Gravitas boys are sort of trying to not stay together throughout the middle stage of the game, whereas the Chiefs composition wants to sort of bundle together and just charge.
Yep.
So now that they have this buff where you see all the minions are covered in this sort of purple glaze, that means that they can siege better. Siege in the same way that you'd like, I don't know, siege a Roman.
Yeah, but they're
Roman fort.
sieging our base. They're attacking our base. Yeah.
Yes, so they work well when they're all bunched together like this. So now it's just about Gravitas holding on until that buff expires, and then seeing if they can take out someone if they're isolated on their own.
And that's what that Baron was before, right? The Baron before, that gives them that extra power for...
Yes.
How long does the Baron buff last?
It's a good question. Raz, it's like 2-3 minutes. Why not? Thoughts?
Sorry, I was eating. Give me a sec.
It's like 2 to 3 minutes. I'm not 100%
yeah.
sure.
But
on the buff.
effectively, that means all their minions, all their little cannons have more damage. Yeah.
It's
and they're
3
harder
minutes, by
to
the way.
kill. More importantly,
So for 3
Okay.
minutes, it makes the minions more durable. It gives stat bonuses to the players. It's a very, very big influx of experience, which is really important in the game, and gold. So overall, it just means that they're put in much better standings, which it makes them a much bigger threat grouped up like they are right now. So they're able to force down these objectives and these inhibitors.
And that's, so they'll now back away, reset, get ready to have another crack at another part of our base, whether they keep going bottom lane or go to the mid, yeah?
So with that bot lane inhibitor going down, that's that kind of weird circular thing in the base. That means that stronger minions will spawn in that lane for Chiefs, which means that naturally now their waves are going to be pushing into Gravitas's base. So that creates pressure without the need for a player to actually be there. So with that extra pressure on that side of the map, they could maybe even play to the opposite side. So then they could try and get the other side inhibitor. So it just adds one more thing for Gravitas to have to deal with.
And Zensaris just asked what Chiefs have done to get into this position, and it's come off the back of 2 really important what we call picks. Picks where you take off one person that's sort of by themselves,
Yep.
who might be in not the right place and not the right time. So the first one came on Parbu in top lane,
Yep.
and then the second one came about 30 seconds later, Trashly at the Dragon.
At
The
the
reason those two
Dragon.
are related is because while Parbu was dead, Chiefs had the knowledge that it was 5 versus 4, so were able to walk in. Trashly then mispositioned himself, went over the wall for a hook, and then died. And all of
Exactly,
these
yeah.
little mistakes, one by one, sort of add up to Chiefs having more ability to control the game on their own and make decisions. Those picks then led into the Dragon buffs, and then consequently the Baron buff going down, and now they are sort of 8,000
Because you-
gold up.
So
You can't
everyone
necessarily have a
talks
set
about...
play for the whole game.
Yeah.
Like
So,
we had to react to the game state, and I think it was a bit late to react to the game state there by Trashly.
So-
Maybe if he backed out, it would have been
Yeah.
okay.
So everyone talks about you know what your win. Oh, there's a hook there. The win conditions. What could you do in this position if you're Gravitas? Like it's pretty dire, right? But what's the win condition? What do you have to do?
Chiefs house power goes out.
Yeah, it's not looking too
That's
great.
brutal. But isn't
They have to hope that Chiefs misplay, but Parby's trying to go in now. He's been exhausted instantly. On the backside, they have managed to pick up Croc, but he's gonna resurrect in a second.
That's
Flashes
an
away.
item he bought,
Yeah.
which is kind of resources. So now, however, even if they live here, which they do, they manage to get a pick on the end, and I expect that the Chief players might have to back out soon. But that's 3 inhibitors down as the Baron is spawning in 20 seconds.
so
And
they'll go
3
back. Yeah.
inhibitors
So they'll go back
is
to the Baron.
especially so
Yeah.
they're gonna rubber band back to the Baron. Rubber band is kind of like, imagine to get a rubber band you on your finger, you
Yeah.
flick it one way and then it pushes back the other way. So kind
So
of
this is very similar to
go back something.
yesterday's game where they nearly took the base and it nearly happened, and then they went
Yeah,
back to get
we're in
the
the
Baron.
other
Yeah,
side of
exactly,
that
exactly.
now.
And they collected the Elder and Baron and they went for the push and Gravitas Glory.
So the main thing
Yeah.
is like in this position again, you're sort of hoping for a misclick or something from the Chiefs.
I mean, actually, since they didn't end there, this is something quite interesting to point out. Is now they have 3 waves of super minions that are doubled in each lane.
Yep.
So even though it's likely that Chiefs get this Baron, this time, in the next maybe, past minute and this next following minute, Gravitas, if you watch them, they have Silas bot lane, they have their mid bot, they have all of their laners getting all of the farm in all 3 lanes. And that's important because maybe these next item spikes are just, I guess,
More
increases in
power.
power, increases in power and damage and things like that.
Yeah.
Maybe these spikes might be enough to net them a team fight win, which might be enough to completely turn the game around.
But you can't just
Yeah.
slow the game down and hope you get to the end because
I mean,
the game
it's up
keeps
to the
putting up.
Chiefs because if the Chiefs keep putting pressure on them, there's
Yep.
no way they can slow it down.
Yeah, it's their
Okay.
game
The
to
only
lose
way
at the moment.
Gravitas really win is if the game slows down. So it's important because 20 seconds now for Dragon, but Chiefs is going to march into the base and look to force a fight and probably end. Because
Yep.
Parbu's all the way top lane still.
Trashy's really put out of position here.
Trashley's
have to
on a wild goose chase.
Run for a long time to get away from this one. I don't know why he's turning back around. What are you doing, Ash? Run.
Let's
Okay, he must have misclicked there for sure. I think that's just
Yeah.
GG, unfortunately.
and Croc, who played exceptionally well last time, is very very good, isn't he?
I mean, Croc is I think the 2 major jungle imports are really some of the strongest junglers right now in the OPL, being Meru from last year
Yeah.
on Direwolves and Croc on Chiefs.
That is going to be the game, and unfortunately, I think that's another loss. No Gravitas Glory for this. No Gravitas Glory for this one. Thank you very much, Bambi, and why not for helping explain that game. I know now a little bit more, and hopefully what we'll do when we do come back
Gravitas on Twitter.
at
follow the org.
Gravitas Os on Instagram.
Actually, no, it's not. Okay,
On
I was gonna say
Instagram.
Gravitas Os. It's okay. Gotcha.
Jeez, don't
I
add
thought we were
social
going
me.
worldwide.
Don't add social me. At
True.
Gravitas. But go to Gravitas GG. I'm going to let's see if I can get this right. I didn't do it right last time. I'm gonna shut down this stream for now. Come back at 7 for the game versus
Pentanet.
Pentanet at 7 o'clock.
PGG.
PGG. It's sometime different in Perth. I don't do conversions for Perth. Sorry, guys. But it's 7 o'clock
It's like 3
Eastern.
hours or something like that. Yeah.
Yes, I know that. But yeah, we're going to be playing Pentanet later. The next game on is going to be Mammoth Order. Bambi, do we want Mammoth to win to make Order a little bit shaky?
No. Order in from our perspective, we want Mammoth to stay as low as possible, but Mammoth are probably out completely at the moment anyway. Order are almost certainly through. I'm not 100% sure on the standings, but if we beat Chiefs that game and also Pentanet later, we were looking pretty good at the playoffs. So for us, this next game isn't super important, but ideally Mammoth lose.
But I think the next game is super important because it'll be
Yes.
about the head-to-head, and
Definitely.
if
So
we end up in a three-way tie, potentially with Penta and AV, that's or a two-way tie. If it's a two-way tie, the head-to-head will matter. So
yes, so the Mammoth games aren't too important for our results, but us beating Pentanet is very important if we are wanting to get to playoffs.
So if I do this, if I do raid, I should send everyone to the Right Games channel, shouldn't I?
Yes.
All right,
You
thanks,
should.
guys. There are going to be more games coming up, and we'll be back at 7 o'clock.